Good morning everyone. Basa na tayo ng Bible, guys. Chronicles chapter 13, 14, and 15. Tama. Pang May 21 na natin to. 13, 14, and 15. May 21. 2021. And John chapter 7. Wait lang, guys. Naka-headphone na ako para malakas ang boses. Chapter 7, verse 1 to 27. Unahin muna natin yung guys. Itong John, kasi maiksi lang. Baka kasi puro descendants na naman mapabasa natin doon sa Chronicles eh. So hanggang 27 siya. Basa. Jesus encounters conflict with the religious leaders. Jesus' brothers ridicule him. Yung mga kapatid ni Jesus. After this, Jesus went around in Galilee, purposely staying away from Judea because the Jews there were waiting to take his life. But when the Jewish feast of Tabernacles was near, Jesus' brother said to him, "You ought to live here and go to Judea so that your disciples may see the miracles you do. No one who wants to become a public figure acts in secret. Since you are doing these things, show yourself to the world." For even his own brothers did not believe in him. O yun, sarili niyang kapatid, guys. Hindi naniniwala kay Jesus. Sa verse 6. Therefore, Jesus told them, sa verse 6, guys. Therefore, Jesus told them, "The right time for me has not yet come." Naninibago kasi ako. For you, any time is right. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify that what it does is evil. You go to the feast, I am not yet going to. You go to the feast, I am not yet going up to this feast, because for me the right time has not yet come. Having said this, he stayed in Galilee. Jesus teaches openly in the temple, at the temple. However, after his brothers had left for the feast, he went also not publicly but in secret. Now at the feast the Jews were watching for him and asking, "Where is that man?" Among the crowds there was widespread whispering about him. Some said he is a good man. Others replied, "No, he deceives the people." Ganun talaga, may kanya-kanya opinion tayo. Siguro nung araw din, ganun din sila. Kanya-kanya opinion din. So respect na lang yung kung anong ng ibang tao. Others replied, "No, he deceives the people." But no one would say anything publicly about him for fear of the Jews. Now until halfway through the feast did Jesus go up to the temple courts and began to teach. The Jews were amazed and asked, "How did this man get such learning without having studied?" O, hindi nag-aral si Jesus? Siyempre nag-aral yan. Jesus answered, "My teaching is not my own. It comes from him who sent me. If anyone chooses to do God's..." Alam nga niya yung yung script, yung mga sinulat ni Moses eh. Diba? So, nag-aaral siya. Jesus answered, "My teaching is not my own, it comes from him who sent me. If anyone chooses to do God's will, he will find out whether my teaching comes from God or whether I speak on my own. He who speaks on his own does to gain honor for himself, but he who works for the honor of the one who sent him is a man of truth. There is nothing false about him. Has not Moses given you the law?" Okay, alam niya yung ni Moses eh. So, nagbabasa, nag-aaral. "Yet not one of you kept the law. Why are you trying to kill me? You are demon-possessed," the crowd answered. "Who is trying to kill you?" Sabi ng crowd. Jesus said to them, I did one miracle, and you are all astonished. Yet because Moses gave you circumcision, though actually it did not come from Moses, but from the patriarchs. You circumcise a child on the Sabbath. Now, if a child can be circumcised on the Sabbath so that the law of Moses may not be broken, why are you angry with me for healing the whole man on the Sabbath? Stop judging by mere appearances and make a right judgment." At that point, some of the people of Jerusalem began to ask, "Isn't this the man they are trying to kill? Here he is speaking publicly, and they are not saying a word to him. Have the authorities really concluded that he is the Christ? Have the authorities really concluded that he is the Christ? But we know where this man is from. When the Christ comes, no one will know where he is from." Oh, so hanggang doon lang yung 27. Gawin natin tong description yung 27, guys. "But we know where this man is from. When the Christ comes, no one will know where he is from." So, ganun pala. Hindi dapat natin alam. So, dito na tayo sa 1 Chronicles, chapter 13, 14, and 15. Pero maiksi-iksi lang siya, hindi katulad sa mga binasa natin noong nakaraan. 13, 14, and 15. David brings the Ark to Jerusalem. Basa. Bring back the Ark. David conferred with each of his officers, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. He then said to the whole assembly of Israel, "If it seems too good to you, and if it is the will of the Lord our God, let us send word far and wide to the rest of our brothers throughout the territories of Israel, and also to the priests and Levites, who are with them in their towns and pasture lands, to come and join us. Let us bring the ark of our God back to us, for we did not inquire of it during the reign of Saul." The whole assembly agreed to do this because it seemed right to all the people. So David assembled all the Israelites from the Shihor River in Egypt to Lebo Hamath, to bring the Ark of God from Kiriath Jearim. David and all the Israelites with him went to Baalah of Judah, Kiriath Jearim, to bring up from there the Ark of God, the Lord, who is enthroned between the cherubim, the Ark that is called by the name. Painom mo na, guys. Verse 7. Yung talaga natin. Excuse me. Yung puke talaga natin ba? Lagi tayong inaatake ng hindrances. Hindi kasi basta-basta ang magbasa, guys, ng Bible. Ang dami talagang blockages mararanasan mo. Katulad yan, Sana biyayaan tayo ng magandang boses, diba? Para tuloy-tuloy ang basa natin. Wala, hindi. Parating po may piyok. Basa pa lang yan, how much more pag kumanta na. Aray ko. Verse 7. They moved the Ark of God from Abinadab's house on a new cart with Yusa and Ahio guiding it. David and all the Israelites were celebrating with all their might before God, with songs and with harps, lyres, tambourines, cymbals, and trumpets. When they came to the threshing floor of Kidon, Yusa reached out his hand to steady the ark because the oxen stumbled. The Lord's anger burned against Yusa, and he struck him down because he had put his hand on the ark, so he died there before God. Oh, alam niyo guys, yung ganun, no? Napakasimpleng kasalanan, mapapatay na. Nahawakan lang yun. Diba? So, then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Yusa, and to this day the place is called Perez Yusa. David was afraid of God that day and asked, "How can I ever bring the Ark of God to me?" He did not take the ark to be with him in the city of David. Instead, he took it outside. He took it aside. Aside, guys, hindi outside. Yung mata. He took it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The Ark of God remained with the family of Obed-Edom in his house for 3 months, and the Lord blessed his household and everything he had. Chapter 14. David's house and family. Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David along with cedar logs, stone masons, and carpenters to build palace for him. And David knew that the Lord had established him as king over Israel, and that his kingdom had been highly exalted for the sake of his people Israel. In Jerusalem, David took more wives. Saan ka pa guys? Marami na namang asawa. Pero bakit sa time namin, sa generation namin ngayon, Father God, bawal ang maraming asawa? Tinatanong talaga eh. Diba? In Jerusalem, David took more wives and became the father of more sons and daughters. O kita mo, nagkalat ng mga anak. These are the names of the children born to him there: Shammua, Shubab, Nathan, Solomon, Abhar. Si Solomon ba? Ito yung King Solomon. Evar, Elishua, Elpelet, Noga. Yung mga ano lang talagang tinandaan eh. Yung mga, alam mo yun guys, yung mga famous lang. Elpelet, Noga, Nipheg, Japeya, Elishama, Bilyada, and Elipelet. Mayroong Elpelet, mayroong Elipelet. Kaya malilito ka talaga sa mga pangalan nila. David defeats the Philistines. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over all Israel, they went up in full force to search for him. But David heard about it and went out to meet them. Now the Philistines had come and raided the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of God, "Shall I go and attack the Philistines? Will you hand them over to me?" The Lord answered. Yung mga ganitong sagutan guys, tinatanong ko rin ito eh. Paano po nasusulat ng writer ito yung sagutan ng dalawa ni Father God tsaka ni David, King David? May recorder ba? Or nag-iwan ba sila ng diary? Kasi detalyado talaga eh. The Lord answered him, "Go, I will hand him over to you." So David and his men went up to Baal Perazim, and there he defeated them. He said, As waters break out, God has broken out against my enemies by my hand. So that place was called Baal Perazim. The Philistines had abandoned their gods there, and David gave orders to burn them in the fire. So yung mga Diyos-Diyosan ng Philistines, sinunog. Once more the Philistines raided the valley. So David inquired of God again, and God answered him, "Do not go straight up, but circle around them, and attack them in front of the balsam trees. As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the balsam trees, move out to battle, because that will mean God has gone out in front of you to strike the Philistine army." So David did as God commanded him, and they struck down the Philistine army all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. So David's fame spread throughout every land, and the Lord made all the nations fear him. Chapter 15. The Ark Brought to Jerusalem. Chapter 15 ng 1 Chronicles, guys. Ito na yung last dito. So, hanggang dito. Basa. Pinagpapawisan na ako. Ayokong buksan ventilator, maingay. Mahina na nga boses ko, maingay pa, kakahiya na. The Ark brought to Jerusalem. After David had constructed buildings for himself in the city of David, he prepared a place for the Ark of God and pitched a tent for it. Then David said, "No one but the Levites may carry the Ark of God, because the Lord chose them to carry the Ark of the Lord and to minister before him forever." David assembled all Israel in Jerusalem to bring up the Ark of the Lord to the place he had prepared for it. He called together the descendants of Aaron and the Levites from the descendants of Kohath, Uriel, the leader, and 120 relatives. From the descendants of Merari, Azziah, the leader, and 220 relatives. From the descendants of Gershon, Joel, the leader, and 130 relatives. From the descendants of Elizaphan, Shemaiah, the leader, and 200 relatives. From the descendants of Hebron, Eliel, the leader, and 80 relatives. From the descendants of Uzziel, Aminadab, the leader, and 112 relatives. Then David summoned Zadok and Abiathar the priest, and Uriel, Asaiah, Joel, Shemaiah, Eliel, and Aminadab the Levites. He said to them, sa verse 12, guys, "You are the heads of the Levitical families. You and your fellow Levites are to consecrate yourselves and bring up the Ark of the Lord, the God of Israel, to the place I have prepared for it. It was because you, the Levites, did not bring it up the first time that the Lord our God broke out in anger against us. We did not inquire of him about how to do it in the prescribed way. So the priests and Levites consecrated themselves in order to bring up the Ark of the Lord, the God of Israel. And the Levites carried the Ark of the God with the poles on their shoulders, as Moses had commanded, in accordance with the word of the Lord." Verse 16. David told the leaders of the Levites to appoint their brothers as singers to sing joyful songs accompanied by musical instruments, lyres, harps, and cymbals. So, noong araw pa lang may musical instruments na, guys. So the Levites appointed Heman, son of Joel, from his brothers Asaph, son of Berechiah, and from their brothers the Merarites, Ethan, son of Koshaiah, and with them their brothers, next in rank, Zechariah, Jaasiel, Shemiramoth, Jehiel, Yuni, Eliab, Binaya, Maasiya, Matitaya, Elipiliho. Kanina may Elipilit tsaka Elipit. May Elipit tsaka Elipilit, diba? Ito naman Elipiho. Pag medyo natatandaan naman kahit mahihirap. Elipiliho, Mikneya, Obed, Edom, and Jael, the gatekeepers. The musicians Heman, Asaph, and Ether were to sound the bronze cymbals. Zechariah, Uzziel, Shermamos, Jehiel, Uni, Eliab, Maaseiah, and Benaiah were to play the lyres according to Alamoth, and Matithiah, Elipeliho, Mikneya, Obed, Edom, Jael, and Asasiah were to play the harps, directing according to Sheminith. Kenaniah, the head Levite, was in charge of the singing. That was his responsibility because he was skillful at it. So, alam nyo guys, pag ano ka ng choir, yung sa mga kakanta, may mga, alam mo yun, mga gifted yung mga yan. Mga magagaling sila sa ganyang larangan. Perikea and Elkanah were to be doorkeepers. How I wish. Marunong din tayo kumanta. Ay, nako. Perikea and Elkanah were to be doorkeepers for the ark. Shebaniah, Joshaphat, Nethanel, Amasai, Zechariah, Benaiah, and Eleazar, the priest, were to blow trumpets before the Ark of God. Obed-Edom and Jehiah were also to be doorkeepers for the Ark. Pero nung araw, no, nasuswerte nila, marunong na sila sa mga instruments. So verse 25, so David and the elders of Israel and the commanders of units of 1,000 went to bring up the Ark of the covenant of the Lord from the house of Obed-Edom with rejoicing. Because God had helped the Levites who were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. 7 bulls and 7 rams were sacrificed. Tapos ang yayaman pa nila, yung mga sinasacrifice nilang animals. God, talagang, guys, talaga namang buo-buo. Hindi katulad ngayon, bibili lang ikaw ng isang chop, ang mahal-mahal na. Sa kanila talaga nung araw, isang buong animals. Tapos hindi lang isa, ilan yan, 7? 7 bulls and 7 rams were sacrificed. Dito tayo sa verse 27. Now David was clothed in a robe of fine linen, as were all the Levites who were carrying the ark, and as were the singers, and Kenaniah, who was in charge of the singing of the choirs. David also wore a linen ephod. So all Israel brought up the ark of the covenant of the Lord with shouts, with the sounding of rams, horns, and trumpets, and of cymbals, and the playing of lyres and harps. As the ark of the covenant of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window, and when he saw King David dancing a celebrity, she despised him in her heart. Di ba asawa niya si Michal before? Yung anak ni King Saul. Bye everyone. God bless.